This week, Team of the Season and beyond, Team of the Season squads and rising prices, plus could we see incoming FUTTIES and premium SBCs? Hello and welcome to week 37 of FUT Weekly. I'm Ben and I'm here with @FUT_economist, or as he's known to us, Jamey.
Hi Ben, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Are you alright? Enjoying the start of summer?
I am enjoying the start of summer. I've started an internship 2 weeks ago. So, and that's getting along pretty well.
Any kind of FUT marketing knowledge required, or is it?
Not really. It's equity capital market advisory stuff. So it's a little bit related in a sense, but we're not talking about flipping players after the Team of the Week release or anything like that. So
unfortunate. Hopefully that'll tune your market knowledge, and we'll hear a bit more about your market thoughts later in the podcast. The big thing that's happened this week is, of course, 3 more Team of the Season squads. We got the Saudi League, we got the Turkish Super League, and we've got Ligue 1, aka the French League. Just to clear up for anyone who doesn't understand my French, which is not surprising. So in terms of that Ligue 1 squad, again got leaked on Twitter, didn't it?
Yep. Yeah, the Italian EA account tweeted it out about 4 hours too early. So
classic.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm getting a little bit suspicious. Do you think there might be some kind of insider kind of goings on here? Do you think it could be EA deliberately doing it to get a bit of hype going?
I mean, there's always these sort of meme-ish joke that leak before the leakers. I guess maybe they're doing that. I doubt that's what they're actually doing, but it could be another cynical sort of theory is that they're doing it so that we all follow the various accounts so that they can boost their follower numbers a little bit. But I mean, it does sort of make you pause and think like why could this possibly happen? Is there some sort of purpose behind it? But at the end of the day, it's just it seems like it's probably just some accidents.
Well, I actually have a bit of insider knowledge on this because a friend of mine actually works at an ad agency, which
Really?
I'm not going to tell you too much about. I don't want to compromise her position, or whoever does is in the wrong here. But one of the tweets which was leaked, one of her colleagues accidentally did the tweet.
Really?
And as far as she knew, it was a complete accident. It was one of the early Team of the Week tweets. It was something that was coming out on a Friday. They accidentally put it out on a Wednesday, something like that. I don't know. But it was a confusion over when to actually sort of put it out.
That's interesting. I mean, because I know that other video game franchises, like the COD series is infamous/famous for it. They purposely put out sort of leaked tweets or leaked details just to get the hype train going. So, maybe... I mean, you said it was a mistake, but maybe this recent stuff was maybe not. I don't know.
I think, to be honest, it does seem to work quite well for EA in terms of sort of generating some extra interest in it. Right. The team itself was a particularly good one, I think. Some really good players in there. Bundesliga obviously had all those left mids, which and Ligue 1 seems to not have suffered from quite the same problem.
Right.
We'll chat more about it later. Unfortunately, well, we might leave it till next week because we actually don't have the in-game stats yet. Weirdly, the in-game stats for the Ligue 1 haven't actually dropped yet. So hopefully we'll get them next week because it feels kind of silly looking through the players just based on card stats because, as we all know, that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Right.
So, yeah, we may end up chatting about the next week when Horace is back. In terms of the Saudi League and Turkish Super League, we'll definitely talk about those. There's plenty of really good players in there. But in terms of a little bonus thing this week, it's been obviously we always get our daily knockout reward sort of player, and this week is a particularly good one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Marquinhos, 80 pace center back, and he's got some pretty incredible stats. Sort of a twin to the Thiago Silva that was released at the same time.
And actually, if you look at them a comparison of the two cards, they're pretty similar. Obviously, Thiago Silva's just that much better on the defending and on I think shooting especially. But considering the Thiago Silva's currently going for about 600-700k, whether that's inflated because people think they're going to be getting that Marquinhos, so they want to pair them up. I don't know, but it does certainly suggest that this is probably one of the more valuable Team of the Season cards. Right, and you look at someone like Loic Perrin. Is it Perrin? It's the French centre-back who plays for Saint-Etienne. His Team of the Season card, that's in a similar kind of quality to that card, if not slightly worse, and that's going for like a good 100 K plus. In fact, I think he's about 200 at the moment, so I think that's a really, really excellent prize, considering I think it is about 200K, considering the other three cards that we've had so far, they've been good, but they're not going to make it into your kind of elite team, whereas I think that Marquinhos probably could.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think Pulisic would probably have demanded a pretty expensive penny, just because he's American, and us North American folks are pretty hyped about him. So I mean, I think it would have been expensive, but in terms of quality of player, I think you're right. I think Marquinhos is by far the best player we've gotten. It's sort of noticing a trend is that and I hope they continue it. It's gone 87 rated Rudy, probably the least valuable. 88 rated Sigurdsson, definitely a step up from Rudy. You can make the argument that the 89 rated Pulisic was a step up from Sigurdsson, and then you now have this 90 rated Marquinhos. Sort of that pattern of one rating up every time. Yeah. I wouldn't mind if they just kept with that pattern for the rest of the team this season.
Yeah. I mean, we could be seeing some quite tasty cards by the last team of the season. Although there's an interesting point here. What's going to happen in that final week? Because we're going to have these team of the season prizes. But then the final week is, of course, the EA team of the season, which is their best players all put into it. Basically, the kind of most desired players all get put into a squad generally. And that squad's in packs for a week, or it may even be slightly less than that, or is it a whole week normally?
I think it's a week. Yeah, I'm not sure, but
are they going to do a sort of prize for that one?
That's a good question.
Because otherwise that would just be a ridiculous player. Which,
I mean, I guess it's sort of interesting because it sort of adds to the body of evidence, if you will, that there's going to be something out of the ordinary for that EA team of the season. Like you said, it would be sort of a crazy reward if they did any one of those players that made it into the EA team this season. So, and there's also the fact that we still have the 84 plus tradable team of the week SBC that's supposed to be coming out. So, there's the theory that that's going to drop during the EA team of the season. And one would think that they'd want to finish this event with a bang. So there's going to be some other sort of SBCs coming during that week. So, yeah, it could be interesting. Maybe they sort of deviate away from the daily knockout reward that we've been seeing. Who knows?
Yeah, and it's interesting in terms of we kind of know what the order of those team of seasons are going to be now, don't we?
Right.
Because this week we think it's going to be La Liga. Why was that again? Just remind everyone.
Yeah, I mean, there was the EA Spain, I think, was the first one to talk about it. They were giving away a PS4, I think they were giving away something. I'm not 100% sure what it was. But the way that you got it was if you guessed the starting 11 of the La Liga team this season, and the date that you could submit it by was June 4th. So obviously the original theory was that La Liga was going to drop last week when Ligue 1 dropped, but that wouldn't make sense if you could submit your guesses of the starting 11 June 4th. So all arrows now point to the Liga Santander dropping this coming week, and then the week after, the only remaining league would be the Calcio A, the Serie A, followed by the EA team of the season.
And also that's worked out quite well for them in terms of, obviously, if Ronaldo had been, Ronaldo's obviously got his re-released card because of his performance in the Champions League final.
It did work out,
which was interesting and provoked a few discussions. We might have a little bit later about breaking that. Actually, let's talk about it now. Why not? Would you want to see EA break that 99 cap? Would you like to see an 100 rated Ronaldo?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, for those that don't know, essentially Ronaldo has just had a 98 rated card released for the third time. It's the exact same card, exact same stats. It's just, I mean, two of them have been strikers, and then one has been a left wing. And sort of the question among the FIFA community was, well, first of all, why isn't this card a 99? And then what happens if they had released a 99? Would his team of the season be a 100 rated card? And people were pointing to the EA Sports, the mobile app, where on that platform they do have 100 plus rated cards, and they release them quite regularly actually on that platform. So the question was, why don't they do that on console? And I think the argument, there's sort of two sides of the argument. The first one is, I think it would sort of break the integrity of what stats even mean. Just sort of in general, I don't we don't know what it means to have 80 out of 100 shooting versus 99 out of 100 shooting. Like, does that mean in certain instances, he's going to get it right 99 out of 100 times, whereas the other guy's going to get it right 80 out of 100 times? Like, what does it mean to even have, a certain stat? And there's, also sort of the thought that if you have, 99 out of 100 indicates that there is room for, the player to mess up. But if you have over 100, wouldn't it sort of make sense that he would never ever mess up, because he's perfect, 100 out of 100? You can't get any better than that. So what does it even? How could he possibly miss ever?
And I understand what you're saying. And also, there's the fact that theoretically, a player is never going to have in stats, a player can't get above 100. It's just wired into the game. There's no way a player can have like 100 finishing. So why would then a card be 99 rated if 100 over 100 rated if you can't actually get stats which match up with that? I mean, I know you've got international reputation, which adds a few overalls, but I think as much as anything, it's a graphical decision, isn't it? They can't fit in 3 digits, so it seems unlikely. I also think there's something that would really bug me about them doing that. I don't know what it is, but I would actually say that might even put me off playing the game. Full stop. I think it would just tip things over the edge. It become too much of an arcade game, too silly, too FIFA mobile, I suppose. Yeah,
I completely agree. It would take a lot of the integrity away in terms of it trying to be an esport game for me as well. It just, see 100 rated cards, 101 rated cards running around. It just, I don't know, it wouldn't make sense to me. And then maybe, that could just be that we're sort of cynical and just used to the old system, but until we sort of know what the stats means, I think it would just sort of be silly. And for anyone that is, still holding out hope, it's very, very unlikely that they're going to do this. Guys like Yasir and Angry Nate, I think is his at, have said on Twitter that it's not actually possible to have a 100 rated card or stats above 99 in the game, because you just can't put it into the game in the engine that they have running. So very, very unlikely that that's going to change anytime soon.
Great. Well, that is quite good news. They're going to continue to receive my custom for the time being. So in terms of going back to the tournaments, we might as well quickly talk about requirements for those daily knockout tournaments. Take it back a bit. We've got a whole week of one requirement this week. So 4 days of uninterrupted, no requirement tournament for Marquinhos. So that's an interesting decision. Not something they've done for a while now. Yeah,
for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. Yeah, sort of odd that they've done that. I'm not complaining. I like using my team of season Phil's squad, but yeah, there's no requirements on that one. And then for the one after that, the first half of the week, they have a daily knockout where the max rated team you can have is an 83. And you have to have everyone in your squad be a gold player. So essentially what you're probably going to end up doing is using the majority of your team, substitute a couple of lower rated gold guys, and then have a 75 rated bench. So there's that. And then the second half of the week, similar to previous weeks, there is no requirements on the actual the daily knockout. So that would be for winning the Liga Santander, assuming that our predicted schedule is correct. That'd be for winning the Liga Santander reward.
Yeah. And in terms of players going up in price, maybe a bit of investing, you reckon you might be able to see someone like, I don't know, I was just thinking maybe like Musa, because people would want him as a sub if you're looking at like a cheap investment, or those kind of players like Kante, who everyone will likely go down to, if you like, to fit into the team.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of sort of some of the overpowered players that you can get. Like Musa is a great example, who is already actually going at discard. So you really can't go wrong. And then like you said, Kante is a good look. Really, any of the lower rated guys from the Premier League are sort of the marquee guys to look for. Someone like Martial is also a good look. So
yeah. So that's good to know. We obviously don't know who the player's going to be for that. In terms of the full requirement, the full week one tournament, I was thinking actually maybe that's to stop what we saw in the past week, where people were winning it twice. Which obviously when they have the two separate tournaments, you're able to win, say, Pulisic two times and take the opportunity away from someone else who maybe hadn't won him, which I think is not what EA are trying to achieve with these particular tournaments. I mean, I can't really sort of say that's too much of a bad thing to do, considering I did tweet about how you could do that, which is quite a useful little tip. Basically, obviously won't work this week, but you could win the player the first 2 days, and then on the second 2 days win him again. If you quit out of the game, leave it about 30 minutes, log into the web app, he'll just be sitting there as an unassigned item. Meanwhile, you can fill out the 84 untradeable team of the week SBC, and it will save you about 15k maybe, because he's obviously Pulisic was an 88 rated player. So once you've done that, you submit it, you get your untradeable team of the week player, and you get your other Pulisic from the unassigned items. So quite a good little thing to do. If you're finding it easy to win the tournament, why not? Apologies to any players who have found it difficult, because I know that's not what you want to hear. But
you got a lot of flack for that on Twitter.
Yeah,
people telling you sort of like, why would you go out recommending that? I can hardly win it as it is. And then you got some of the superpower players coming back and doing it for more.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things that maybe it doesn't seem especially hard to win, like from my perspective, but at the same time, I feel like the games I played, maybe I picked the right times. So like both the times that I played last week were actually on the Tuesday and Thursday, so a lot of people would have already won.
Right. Yeah.
The only time I've really struggled was when I played on a Monday one week in the evening. So I think definitely picking your time makes a difference, because after all, really good players are going to win it the first time they play. So you'll avoid those if you play a bit later, probably.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
So we've obviously chatted a bit about what we might expect over the next few weeks, but I think EA might have some news for us in terms of what to expect for FIFA 18.
Yeah, it looks like that is going to be the case. EA just came out on their Facebook and said that we were going to get our first look at the Worlds game, as they're calling it, on June 5th. So tomorrow, from when we're recording this. Usually, what that is, based on what we saw last year, is it's either going to be a 20-second clip of the actual trailer that's going to be released, in the full version of it, usually at EA Play, which is on June 10th to the 12th, or some sort of screenshot, some pack art, something of that sort. So we're going to be looking out for that tomorrow. They've also changed their background art on their not only their Facebook, but their Instagram and their Twitter account to what I think is going to be the FIFA 18 theme. It's like a very smoky, dark, sort of interesting background. It got some interesting feedback from the graphic designers, but I asked Luke on Twitter. He, for those of you that don't know, he's probably one of the 3 best known sort of graphic designers in the FIFA community. He works very closely with EA sometimes. Well, not sometimes, all the times. He actually has a kit in the game. But he has told me, I asked him what he thought about it, and he has told me that the wait till I see more, because it's going to be like really good. And when he approves of things, generally, it's going to be a pretty solid showing from EA. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Oh, that's a nice little teaser for everyone ahead of the teaser.
Right.
So we might. I mean, a few people did point out on Twitter we should get the pod up after that. We wouldn't be able to have Jamey because it would be too late in the evening anyway, so it would have really worked. And in any case, it's unlikely we'll see too much tomorrow. Maybe a few days later we'll see they'll sort of drop something else. At least that's how they've done it in the past. So next week, if there's plenty to talk about, and well, either way, we'll be chatting about it. I'm sure. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully, I won't be too sore. That'd be a shame. Right, moving on to some other things that are coming up. We think FUTTIES should be a few weeks away now. Do you want to just remind everyone what FUTTIES was? Because if you're new to the game this year, you might not actually know what FUTTIES are, and what the kind of situation is.
Yeah, so it's a community-based event where EA sort of give out inform cards, or really more than inform cards. They're pretty boosted. I think last year they got +2 boosts to specific players who are falling under certain categories. So either they were the most used, the for pace abuse or something like that, for the best defender or whatever. And what they do is they set up this event where, and this is what they did last year, they have a bunch of players in each category get a pink footy card. It's like a pink footy like contestant card of sorts. And then they run voting for I think a week. And the community votes on which player they would most want to get the upgraded footy card. So initially the batch of footy pink cards, they are not upgraded in any way. They're the same release as their regular gold card, or silver card or bronze card, but they're just pink. And sort of like a one to watch item, if that player goes and wins the actual voting, then they get the upgrade to their original card that's already in the game. So say you owned, last year you could get a Sturge, his 84 rated card, and then I think he won the footy voting, so his card automatically became an 86 rated card, similar to what happens with a one to watch card when they get an inform. So yeah, it's a really fun event. People are really hoping for the likes of Smalling and Butland to get their informs
or not, so, if they're not playing
or not or not, right? Yes.
But yeah, it's quite an interesting thing, and the voting is always quite close on some players. Some players win it kind of quite easily, and it's also quite interesting because, of course, there'll be certain players which people are really excited to get one, and their card, even unboosted before the upgrades happen, is actually really high. Someone like Smalling will undoubtedly be expensive even when they're not upgraded if he is chosen. Right. So the interesting thing about this, though, is last year was the first year they did it like that. Part of me wonders whether that was for the purposes of testing out the one-to-watch kind of thing on people. It was like a beta for one-to-watch process, basically. Right. So that does suggest that maybe possible that we won't see the same thing this year. And I wonder whether it might be in an SBC form instead, especially as there's been a lot of complaints about the lack of SBCs at the moment for certain there have been, apart from the couple that have obviously come out, like we've got the Hernandez Legend SBC loan item. There haven't really been any sort of marquee ones since those player of the season items, I think. Right.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a SBC laden event. Especially, I mean, people have been sort of complaining recently that team of the season has been a bit stale, just because it's been very predictable, and that we know that there's going to be a release every Tuesday and Friday. And I think people are sort of thirsting for what we saw at FUTMIS, where there's this big event where there was player SBCs that were released every day, and there's always something exciting.
I guess it was the same. Sorry, with FUT Birthday, you had a bit of kind of a sort of new dynamic to it. It was quite fresh and different, whereas obviously Team of the Season's been quite predictable in a sense. I know a few big names have complained about it, but it's still phenomenal in terms of the amount of content we're getting. But I feel like maybe people are disappointed then not being able to kind of utilize their investments as much as anything.
Yeah. I mean, again, talking about utilizing investments, there's always the possibility that something's going to be coming with the EA Team of the Season. And like you said, I think there's a possibility that we'll see something for footies, but I mean, it hasn't been sort of the market shaking kind of SBCs that we've seen with past events. So it hasn't been a bit of some disgruntled some disgruntled
especially
players,
anyone who kind of really went in on those untradeable 84 plus SBCs, because they have got very cheap, but at the same time, if you're not going to get any SBCs, those cards are kind of going to go to waste, which would be a real shame. But I really think there's something on the horizon, because you look at the premium SBCs, we're really going to see only 3 premium SBCs in the whole year. For me, that seems unlikely. The amount of cards that are on the market now, the prices that some of the cards have dropped to, does kind of suggest that at some point there'll be something at least. Yeah, and then thinking of things coming on the horizon, people have been talking about possible TOTY SBC, which would be quite exciting. But that could be something that, again, people can use those cards informs for. Yeah,
there's actually a bit of a body of evidence that would suggest that the TOTY SBC is a possibility. The EA, who generally don't really throw around likes a lot on tweets, actually liked one of FUTWiz's tweets that showed a concept card of a TOTY SBC, like a premium SBC sort of legend-ish sort of deal. That said, although Toti got a Team of the Week, or sorry, was it a hero card? I think it was a hero card. He got a purple hero card in the previous Team of the Week. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to see a Toti SBC at some point, which is something that the community, Matt HD, really everyone has been asking for. So
I do think there's a bit of truth behind, if the community asks, sometimes they do get,
Right.
EA like to they like to capitalize on people's excitement and hype. So there's no reason why they wouldn't do this. And I really think that there's two arguments for the way the kind of market's going and the way investments are going. Like, on the one hand, they could be perfectly happy with prices dropping, as they have been on inform cards, on those players that are kind of not your top tier players. Because that makes them more affordable for anyone coming into the game. Take, for example, the fact that EA are offering free play days on FIFA 17 over this weekend. So if new people are coming into the game, they can buy players relatively cheaply, informed players and exciting players. But obviously, that doesn't necessarily suit the people who have lots of coins, who have these investments. But maybe for EA, that doesn't really matter at this point, because those players will actually buy packs because they don't have as many coins as they thought. So there is a bit of that argument. But on the other hand, prices are getting to the point where you wonder whether it's negatively affecting people's interest in buying packs, because obviously if player prices are high because of SBCs, then you get more incentive to buy packs, because the players that you get, even if it's an 83 rated player, that actually will give you a decent reward.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, because just incentivizing the player to spend money or to be interested in the game in general is going to get harder and harder as we get closer to the end of the game. So yeah, maybe they are content. It seems as if they've been doing a couple things recently that just sort of confused me. For example, they haven't put the stats up for the League All players. So it just, to me, it seems like they're very focused on pushing FIFA 18 at the moment. There's always so much bandwidth that one company can have at a time. So there's I have a suspicion that there might be some sort of passing of the guard, if you will, to FIFA 18 here. And that they would be content to just sort of let prices do what they will. And I guess we can sort of get into what they will be doing as we want to talk about the market here, just sort of in general. But yeah, it's sort of a suspicion here that EA might be in a sense passing of the guard from FIFA 17 to FIFA 18, and that they might be content just to let the market do what it will. In a sense. Yeah,
no, that's a possibility. We certainly were hoping to discuss the market, because there's been a bit of a rise over the past sort of week or so, I think. Pretty much ever since the Premier League Team of the Season dropped.
Right. Yeah. No, it's been intriguing. I think we knew when the Premier League Team of the Season dropped. For those that don't know, obviously prices were incredibly low during the first couple hours, and really ever since then they've risen. I think what we're seeing is, as you said earlier, Ben, the prices of the higher end guys have really shot up and held, and I think that's mainly because people are buying those cards with the tremendous amount of coins that they've accumulated over this entire FIFA cycle. And then they're holding them in their teams because there's no reason for them to list them on. There's really going to be no other better card than that's going to compete with the teams that they are making, and there's no reason to list them on other than FUTTIES. I can't think of a reason that they'd want to liquidate any of their cards. So I think that's why we've seen some of the really high end players go high and stay high, and then really everyone else has dipped pretty substantially. I mean, there's things that you can sort of take advantage of still. I mean, you said that it is difficult, a little bit more difficult to trade. I think it's more that it's a different type of trading and investing that you have to do, in the sense that you just have to be a bit more patient. We've said this before, but there are things that you can do. For example, picking informs that have really low card weight. and just waiting, just monitoring their price, getting to know their price really well, and then picking them up on bid, at odd hours of the day is a very, very lucrative way if you have the time and you have the patience to do it. It's a very, very lucrative way to make some coins. There's also recently there's been some sort of small fluctuations, small flips that you could do. For example, when you could pre-invest in a inform of a player who either was thought to get into the team of the season and then didn't, for example, Matuidi, or you could invest in a player who was going to get a team of the season, but their team of the season was going to be extremely expensive, for example, Lacazette.
Or Dembele, I think I noticed especially.
Or Dembele, right, yeah. And, once the team of the season dropped, people realized that they weren't going to be forward them, they just bought the highest inform, and that actually went up quite a bit. So, you can also do things where, this isn't going to be all too relevant going forward, unless you consider some of the national team games. But there, you could invest in players if they have an extremely good game in a very big game. For example, this Champions League final, there's Mandzukic's inform went from 23k to I think 43k, or 22k or something like that, to 43k, and Ronaldo bumped up by about his regular card bumped up by about 100k.
And Casemiro went up
that performance.
A decent
right. Casemiro went up as well. So. Those are things you can do. Another thing to look out for is that the Tuesday releases of the team of the seasons, if they are sort of heavy hitting good team of the seasons, they oftentimes will rebound heading into Friday. For some reason, people have been undervaluing the Tuesday team of the seasons in the middle of the week, and then when it comes time to weekend league and people want to make teams, they sort of notice, well, hey, these cards are actually really solid. I might want to put them in my team, and they've risen, which has been sort of odd, sort of counterintuitive to what you would think would happen.
And just to add, there's a few opportunities for sort of discard players who are going to go up a few K, just because they're at discard, but like they're not that as useless as you'd think. Like someone like I noticed, the right back who plays in the Super League, what was his name, Lopez, has a perfect link with Quaresma, so it's obviously kind of useful.
Right.
Sorry, not perfect link, strong link with Quaresma, but he's also Portuguese, which makes them very easy to get into a team. So he was going for discard. So he's gone up a few K, and when popular times for players being bought, you naturally get a bit of an increase. So you'll make a few K coins on players like that.
Yeah, definitely something to look out for. Some other things just to keep an eye on in terms of the market. The one to watch cards. There's sort of this consensus that one to watch cards have become completely useless, which isn't necessarily true. It's definitely far less likely that they're going to get an inform because all of the seasons at this point for the one to watch cards have ended. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to get an inform for performance that they've done for their national team, which is something that you can get team of the week cards for, and that's something that EA have done in the past. They've released team of the week cards for international qualifying matches. So someone like Pogba, for example, we were just talking about this a bit ago, he has the potential to get an inform card if he puts in a really solid performance for France. So yeah, something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, and Renato Sanchez is someone I think could be because if he got a special card, I've always said he'd be like really, really expensive, even though his one to watch is really cheap. So that's someone you can keep an eye out for, because obviously for the Portuguese national team, he's got much better chance of ever getting anything.
Especially if he gets a footies card, so that he wouldn't get a boost on his one to watch if he got a footies card, but then the boost after his footy card could be really substantial if they decide to stack it on the rating boost for the footies card.
Which you'd have thought they would, because of how unattractive team of the weeks are otherwise at this time of year. You'd kind of hope so. So that's plenty of interesting things to be getting on with on the market then. And obviously there's still fluctuations going on right now because of the team of the seasons for which are impacts. So it's all interesting stuff still. Right. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we get on Tuesday. What are your thoughts on what we might expect on Tuesday?
I guess based on what we saw last year, I think the most likely is the Russian league, and then sort of a conglomerate of Latin American leagues into a team of the season. Again, what they've done this year has been different in terms of ordering than last year. So there's a good chance that we're not going to see that on Tuesday. But based on what we've seen, in previous weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw at least one of those two.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Russian League can be an especially interesting one. There are plenty of kind of good special cards already. You can see a team of the season on top of those. Someone like Promes could be quite exciting. But we'll look forward to talking about those if that is the team of the season that comes out. We'll look forward to talking about that next week. But for the time being, we're going to move on to the post section, and you informed me that post doesn't really mean the same thing in the States. So that's mail, basically. People have emailed in their questions, discussion topics. That's footweekly@mail.com, or they've tweeted us at footweeklypod on Twitter. So the first question is from Abraham at Klosfig, and he asks, do you think the highest rated inform of a Calcio team of the season player will increase more after team of the season release? So basically investors already seem to have prepped, he thinks.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. Sort of like we were saying earlier, something that you could do in previous weeks was, invest in the highest rated inform of a player that was likely to get a very, very high rated team of the season and be very expensive. And what often would happen was that the inform would drop significantly just before the release, and then it would rebound quite heavily after the release when people realized it was too expensive to buy that actual team of the season. Is that going to happen again? There's sort of two scenarios that I see playing out in my head. The first is that it does happen again in the sense that people have already pre-invested, and these people that are pre-invested, I think, have a very low tolerance and a very low tolerance to hold on to these cards, and a very high propensity to panic sell, because sort of the end of the game, they really don't want to be holding onto cards like this. They really just want to liquidate those coins so that they can have coins to buy these team of the season players that they're likely trying to get from the Calcio A. So what could happen is either those people are patient enough to wait until after the team of the season and then the releases, and then they sell them all sort of at once and the price never rebounds, or they see them dropping as we get closer to the team of the season. They sort of see that as the cue to sort of panic sell. They drop really, really low. You could pick them up when they drop really, really low, and then you could sell when they rebound after the team of the season drops. So two sort of scenarios there. Sort of my advice would be, don't buy now, don't buy yet. Wait until it gets closer to the actual release, and if you see the second scenario that I described starting to play out, then pull the trigger and pick a couple up.
So these questions have actually been about things we've discussed briefly in the podcast so far, but this was something we've talked about quite a bit in terms of what's coming up after team of the season. Now we've obviously mentioned FUTTIES, but Andy Brumby wants to know whether we think beyond FUTTIES, let's say, what are EA going to do to kind of keep things alive, because with all the promotion around FIFA 18, we could see things kind of dying off.
Right. Yeah, it's always sort of a balancing act for EA, because they have to make sure that they hype up the next release of the game enough so that people are incentivized to go to that and they don't stick with the old version. But they also they want to have people interested enough in sort of keep the cohesiveness, if you will, of the community so that it does carry on to the next game. So I do think they're going to do some things to sort of keep it alive, if you will. The first thing that comes to mind is they could really juice up the MLS. Some of the players that are in that league now are a lot better. We have July 4th coming up, which is Independence Day essentially for the United States. So there's I think there's definitely events that they could do and cater towards that. There's things that they can do with. They could be super generous with really any international game. If someone puts in like a halfway decent performance, they could just throw them in inform, just to keep the weekend league rewards interesting. They could shake up what the weekend league rewards are in general, just making it so that it's maybe they're bigger pack rewards for getting to different tiers, or keeping the team of the season in packs, which would be really, really interesting. And we haven't confirmed that yet, but there's the possibility that they I mean, for those of you that don't know, they have team of the season rewards in packs for this next coming month. There's a possibility that they could just keep that going throughout the rest of the year and just have them be available in packs as a reward. That would be a huge incentive to keep playing. So,
and I mean, what we're kind of saying is that should the reward system operate the same way, and should the team of the weeks be the same kind of quality we'd expect over the next kind of month or so, the weekend league's not going to look particularly enticing. and especially if player prices continue to drop. So does that suggest that we might see some of those premium SBCs that we were chatting about? I mean, they could be an option in terms of keeping people interested, because people really do love those.
Yeah, I do think it's a possibility, because I think the only reason they wouldn't, or they haven't done them in the, sort of the middle of the game, was in a weird way it sort of breaks the integrity of like the upgrade systems throughout the year, and that all of a sudden there's this like incredible player that comes out of nowhere. It kind of screws over some of the people that have, either invested in a high-rated team of the year, or have that for their team. It just sort of throws off the cycle, if you will. But now that they've sort of released all that they've shown their hand in the sense that they've dropped team of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if they were a little bit more liberal with rewarding and dropping premium SBCs that are more catered toward the community and what the community wants.
Cool. Well, that all sounds very good. Hopefully Andy's happy with your answer there, as I'm sure he will be. So we're ready to take a quick break, and after that we'll be back with a review of some players we've used, as well as a talk through those team of the season squads and the team of the week. See you in a bit. Well, welcome back after a lovely break there. It was actually quite a long break. I had my dinner. A nice Tesco's finest cheddar and bacon quiche. It was very good. I would recommend. Well, obviously that would probably mean nothing to you, but
yeah, I have no idea what Tesco is.
Just a large supermarket here in the UK. Did you do anything particularly special in your break?
I played 5 weekend league games, so very special.
Ah, you did. You dined on the souls of weekend league opponents, rather. You don't need sustenance, just the defeat of opposition in the weekend league.
Exactly. Yep.
Although you did actually lose your last game, didn't you?
I did, yeah. It was a rather unfortunate game. I was a victim of a bit of speed up lag, which sounds like the typical excuse, but it really was quite horrendous. I'm about to post it on Twitter. So
okay, so anyone can check that out.
Yeah.
At FUT_economist. Anyway, massive side track there, but interesting nonetheless. And actually, the player you're going to talk about in the review section is going to be a player who you've just been using. So
exactly.
I'm excited to hear more about him. So let's get into the new players we've got this week. So let's first of all start with probably the least interesting of all of these, which is the team of the week. The big standout is obviously that Hero Totti card.
Yeah, of course.
Who we mentioned earlier. Obviously, complete legend. Like, the card won't really be that good just because of the pace, but I'm sure he can smash in a long shot or two, and 5-star weak foot is always quite fun. Elsewhere, obviously, you've got the high-rated players, Insigne, Hamsik, Perisic, all like obviously 88, 89 rated cards. They'll all be really good, I'm sure. A bit of a shame, obviously, Perisic is the left mid, so maybe not quite as useful as he would have been in the central line.
But it's pretty cool because those guys are probably going to get team of seasons. So it's nice because they just a little extra boost for their team of season card.
Yeah. So they've been out of packs for a while, weren't they? Actually. So Perisic, I really struggle with him when I've used him out wide.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's quite a good cam, but like whenever I've tried to use him in a wide position, I've just found that he's maybe not as like agile as you want for a winger, but natural because he's a larger player. And just quickly, Santon is probably one of the best is the best Italian Serie A left back now. But his card still looks pretty suspect. And then you've got Di Silvestri on the other side, another 81 rated Italian fullback, and then Rudiger, frustratingly, a right back. Because what a card that would have been had it been a central player.
Yeah,
really would have been good. And then on the bench, Dos Santos actually looks really good. The Mexican striker playing for LA Galaxy, and he's got something. If you put Hunter on him, his stats, he's got really, really high finishing, all sort of in the 90s, and this is for a sort of discard player. And then he's got obviously really good pace because his pace is 88 on the card. And then just as standard, he's got 88 dribbling, 88 ball control, and 90 agility. So he looks really good. And the only place he's let down is he sort of has 50 strength, which is really, really real big shame. But 4-star skills, 4-star weak foot, and finesse shot. I think it'd be worth a go if you're looking to build like an MLS team at this stage for some strange reason.
Yeah, he's only 11k too, so might as well.
Yeah, he is so cheap. And then Oziakup is another player I wanted to mention just because he's got a really, really sort of well-balanced attacking card. He's not weak, he's decently quick, he's got like long shot taker, he's got some decent traits, 4-star skills, I believe he has 4-star weak foot, don't quote me on that. And then he's also got decent, like really decent agility at 90, I think, as well. So he's quite a fun player. Not terrible at defending either. And I think that's pretty much the team in a nutshell. The only silver I'd point out, there are quite a few now, as you'd expect at this stage in the game, is Uche, the Nigerian Liga 1-2-3, or second tier of Spanish football. Is that Liga Segunda, I think it is? He's Nigerian as well, which is obviously helpful. But he's got 84 pace, 80 shooting, 78 dribbling, 74 physical. He's decently strong, but he's also got 4-star skills, so he could be an interesting little player, but not the easiest to link. But yeah, I think that's that team of the week over with. Likely to see the section getting shorter and shorter. Oh, actually, last player, Joe Hart, obviously could be quite good. Yeah. But you were saying you hated it as not informed.
His not informed is awful. It's really bad.
Because I've heard a few good things about this card, so be interested to know if anyone finds him any good.
Right.
So I think that's it done. I think the only player I haven't actually name checked is Doumbia. But yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's get straight on to the real business of that Saudi League team of the season. It looks really good, especially in the silver department. I think is the bottom line.
Yeah.
Carlos Eduardo is a decent Brazilian attacking midfielder, but he's not anything special. Like I wouldn't get too excited about using that card. And then the other golds, you've got Bangura, who looks really poor. I don't think he's even that tall, even though he's quite sort of good at shooting and strong. Caraba looks like a really good card, but he is only 3-star skills, which is a shame. And then Al Sommer just looks fantastic. He's going to be so good. I've heard good things about him.
Yeah.
There's been a few good reviews I've seen. You can look at like almost maxing out all his sort of important attacking stats with Engine, and then you've got 92 physical on that card as well. So he is going to be stunning.
Jeez. Wow, that's a heck of a card.
I really like to try him out. And the other players, obviously mainly silvers. You've got Leo Bonatini on the bench, a Brazilian striker who again looks quite average but has excellent shooting. So the other silvers, I don't think there are so the other silvers, there are obviously loads to go through, but the big ones that we sort of wanted to pick out were, I think, one which you want to talk about, who you think could be quite useful to link with Al Sommer.
Yeah, and he goes by the name of Al Yassim, I think is how you pronounce it. I mean, I probably butchered that, but he looks pretty solid. I mean, he's got 77 pace, 75 shooting, 82 passing, 81 dribbling, 80 defense, and 84 physical, which is not bad as a CDM. And if you put a shadow chemistry on him, I mean, that boosts him all the way up to 88 pace and 94 defending, with 88 interceptions, 97 marking, 87 heading, 96 standing tackle, and 93 sliding tackle. The only problem is he's 5'6", which makes him an interesting sort of CDM. I guess you could sort of use him like a Conte, and I think those type of players play best when they're out on the left center mid or right center mid of a 4-1-2-1-2 narrow formation, which would actually make it easier and possible to link it with Al Samoa. But yeah, he's sort of an interesting card. He's not super expensive as well, so I want to look at.
Yeah, and I think you could put him with Al Sharani, couldn't you? He's a left back. I think his normal card's a right back. He looks like outrageous. He's got 80 passing, 80 physical, 78 defending, and 83 dribbling, and 91 pace on a 74 rated card.
Yeah.
Is obviously immense, and he's also Saudi, so gets a strong link to Yassim. So you could just play a legend cam, and then you've got striker Al Sommer, and then you've got Al Yassim on the left centre mid, and then you've got Al Shamrani on the left back position. So that would work really nicely as like a trio down that side, just to get sort of full chem already, and then just work players in that around that. I think would work really well. And actually, if you're looking for a legend cam, I've got one coming up in the review section, so watch out for that. But the player I'm going to talk about is actually also a cam, and he's actually Chilean, which is, I don't know, I don't think we've reviewed that many Chileans this year, or looked at many Chileans this year. He's 5-star skills, plays for Al Ittihad, which I think the only problem with him playing for Al Ittihad is perhaps the strong links aren't so good. There aren't that many in the team of the season. But the Chilean factor, and the fact there are quite a lot of good Saudi League players, with the upcoming South America team of the season, where you should also see some good silver cards and other players to link him with. It could be quite nice. And I imagine there's a really good hybrid you can make with Sanchez if you're looking to do something like that. But this guy's got 5-star skills, as I said, 3-star weak foot. He's got medium attacking and low defensive, which is quite good. And where he sort of shines is he's got really, really outstanding agility at 95, really good free kicks, 94 free kick accuracy, 88 curve. He's got 90 short passing, 89 long passing, 92 vision, so outstanding all across the passing stats apart from crossing, which obviously isn't so important. And then 87 stamina as well. He's very weak, but he's not slow, especially with Hunter. 83 acceleration, 77 sprint speed, and then in terms of his shooting stats, really strong long shots, 99 shot power, 94 long shots with Hunter, 99 volleys, 82 finishing, and 91 positioning. So yeah, I mean, he's obviously not going to compete with a gold player, a good gold player, but he's definitely going to be one of the better silvers, and with 5-star skills. And also, I don't think many people will expect you to pull out a 5-star skill with him, because he's not your kind of typical 5-star skiller that people normally see. So he's an interesting card if there's ever a kind of opportunity to work him into some requirements for a tournament or something. Then I think he'd be a great player to use. Looks really good.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, let's move on to the next league. We've got the Super League. Looks a really strong team this season, as you'd expect, although perhaps not the kind of elite players that you'd want, especially not the elite players that link together, which actually are useful in Weekend League. But in terms of interesting players, you've got Bremer again, who obviously we've seen before. Anderson Talisca looks phenomenal, really good dribbling, really good passing, and a cracking long shot, as well as decent strength and solid stamina. Then you've got Hutchinson, who I think is one of the better players in this team. Unbelievably well-rounded, high work rates, good stamina, and also 4-star weak foot and 3-star skills, which is good on a more defensive player. They're relatively cheap. I mean, Hutchinson's really cheap at about 30k. And then Snyder actually looks really interesting. I know he's someone who probably you'd like to try out had he been a player in another league, possibly. And then you've also got Marcelo, the centre-back, Skirtle, both of whom I think at this stage aren't quite quick enough, actually, which is controversial, but 74 pace, I feel like I need more at this stage.
Yeah, you really do. Like 75 plus is sort of a requirement if you're going to be competitive, fight for elite.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. And then we've also got Jermaine Lenz on the bench, who looks decent, 4-star skills, like decently strong for a winger. And you've got a few other players who are interesting, like Yoko Sulu, who I think is a bit of a kind of a Hutchinson mould type player, kind of very physical, but also got the pace, dribbling and passing, and defending to kind of do a job anywhere in midfield, and actually has a very good shooting, better than Hutchinson. So then a few other players that are kind of not so great. Viska, who looks good but doesn't have 4-star skills as a winger, which is always a problem. Very slow centre-back in Dorica. Then you got Masuru, who looks a decent cam but nothing special. Fabricio, who's probably not going to be the best keeper. But actually another keeper I'd like to give a shout out to is Hopf, the Swedish goalkeeper, who actually got a Movember card back in whenever it was, November of course, and has 88 reflexes, which is phenomenal on a keeper. And his other keeping stats are above 80, which is sort of key keeping stats are above 80. So it looks really tidy. And just a shout out to Wagner Love. Obviously, he had was considered a FUT legend, but didn't make it into the FUT birthday squad. But this card looks like it could be a sort of more than able replacement, or it definitely would be, in fact.
Yeah.
He's got sort of 90 strength and 87 agility, as well as 94 balance and 90 dribbling. And then if you use Hunter on him, he gets pretty much maxed out shooting stats and is actually really quick as well. So if you can deal with 3-star skills on your striker, this guy's got 5-star weak foot, so he looks really good. I'd really like to try him out, and I suppose if you can get him into a team, I think he'd definitely do a job for people.
For sure.
But yeah, Jamie, I think you picked out the legend Samuel Eto'o.
I did pick him out. Yeah, he's got quite an interesting team this season card here. I mean, the main point of comparison that we're going to be doing here is with his FUT birthday card, being that they're both 90 rated, similarly priced, although his FUT birthday card is just a little bit more expensive, about 20k more expensive, depending on when you buy him. But the key difference is in their pace. The Team of the Season version has 12 less pace overall, and that's applied equally to both his acceleration and sprint speed. However, he has 6 better shooting, 5 better passing, 3 better dribbling, and 5 better physical, which when you break it down is quite significant, being that he has sort of across the board 6 better shooting and everything, meaning that his finishing is significantly higher, going from 91 to 97. His shot power is significantly higher, going from 92 to 98. Long shots go from 79 to 86, 81 to 86. And then one of the big things for me is his stamina is going up by 5. And that was one of the major complaints about his FUT birthday card. And it's 81 on his team of the season, whereas on his FUT birthday card, it's a 76. So
it makes it almost, for me, that's almost unusable, isn't it? 76.
Right,
down.
yeah, 76. I mean, you almost have to sub out someone if they have, really anything but in the 70s. I mean, 81 isn't great. I don't want to, sort of talk it up as if he's going to be able to run for you all game, but it's a pretty significant boost. And if you want to put Hunter on his team of the season, they essentially have equivalent pace stats. If you were for some reason not going to boost any sort of pace on his FUT birthday card, he would actually be higher in the acceleration stat and just a little bit slower in the sprint speed stat. So, something interesting. I guess if depending on what sort of role you have your strikers play in, the team of the season could be a cheaper and better option.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really good shout, actually. But I'm kind of a little bit bitter about Esu because I got him in my as my 84 plus player from the team of the week, from one of the team of the week untradables, and I got him in my monthly's reward like a day after. So I'm definitely not adding another Esu to my collection. But yeah, I think just to finish off, I'd like to point out 2 players who will work really well together. I mentioned them earlier, but Miguel Lopez, the right back, is really, really solid with Shadow. His passing, physical and dribbling are already really strong. So with Shadow, you're basically maxing out his defending and getting his pace into the 90s. It just looks like a really good card. I mean, I'd originally thought it'd be nice if he got some kind of special item so that the Quaresma strong link would work. But to have a card like this is really, really great. He's going to be more than capable, I think, at right back, and I've got him, so I'll let people know what he's like in the future. Probably, I think he could be really, really good. And Quaresma himself is obviously outstanding. I mean, I've used his inform loads, and that card is phenomenal. And I think this card, with the increase to his stamina and the increase to his finishing, will really make the difference. I mean, his ball control and dribbling, how he felt on the ball was already outstanding. I don't think it really needed boosting, so he's going to feel even better. And his passing was already phenomenal, and I always put Hunter on him because of that. And so now he's got a ridiculous number of stats in the sort of high 90s. He's got 99 acceleration, 99 sprint speed, 99 positioning, 99 shot power, 99 long shots, 99 volleys, 99 penalties. The only thing boosted by Hunter that's not maxed out is the 91 finishing. And then he's got 97 agility, 91 balance, 94 ball control, and 97 dribbling.
Wow.
And then 99 curve, 99 crossing. And yeah, I think and 91 vision is the other stat in the 90s. 89 free kick accuracy, which isn't bad either.
Wow.
And 90 short passing and 86 long passing. So yeah, apart from physical, which isn't terrible. I mean, he's got like 75 aggression, but 65 strength. And then he's got 79 composure, which is okay. He's I think he'd be excellent. He's obviously got some quite tidy traits as well, with a chip shot, flair, and long shot taker. And technical dribbler. So yeah, he just looks really good. And I think on that we're probably ready to move on to the final team of the season squad. We obviously don't have the in-game stats, so we'll just I guess give our thoughts on who we're kind of interested to see their in-game stats. We'll try and cover this team in the next podcast in terms of in-game stats, pick out a couple of players then. But is there any particular players that you're kind of keen to sort of have a closer look at?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see the in-game stats of Seri Dai, I think is how you pronounce his name.
Yeah, that's a really good hipster shout. You're obviously learning our ways.
Yeah, no, the reason I say that is because I actually just came up against him 2 games in a row in Weekend League. And he was incredible. Like he was very strong on the ball. He actually scored, or he didn't score, but he hit the post on a long shot. From an angle where I was just sort of like, all right, like, yeah, you can take that shot. There's no way that's going to go in.
Have a go, mate.
Yeah. Sort of the one unfortunate thing about him is he has high medium work rates, which isn't ideal for. I mean, I wouldn't want to play him as a cam. I don't know. He doesn't look like the sort of the cam that I would want. But just interesting. Maybe you could sort of slot him in as an attacking, high pressing sort of left center mid, right center mid.
Yeah, and Cyprian looks an interesting card as well. Quite similar. Maybe a bit more physical than Siri, but yeah, both of them I think would be interesting to see. And they kind of make Bakayoko look pretty bad.
Yeah.
Monaco CDM. But he's obviously a much bigger presence. Other players that would be kind of interesting to know. I think Fabinho looks very good. A presence in midfield as well. And then obviously Thiago Silva is going to have some crazy stats. Verratti, I mean, wow, he's going to be good. Finally able to shoot, which is going to be crucial.
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, a shame not to be able to look at the in-game stats, but hopefully we'll do that next week. Let's move on to some reviews. You've got a 91 rated striker to talk about.
I finally made the decision to switch away from my marquee striker duo, which was Icardi and Higuain. I've been using it, for those of you that have been following my weekend league progress, for the good part of the second half of this year. They've just, I don't know, that the Higuain Icardi partnership for some reason worked really well for me, gelled with my play style really well. But recently, I think what's sort of happened to Icardi is that he's sort of his powers have deteriorated compared to, they've weathered, if you will, in comparison to some of the other team of the season center backs and elite center backs that have been coming out recently. And he's just he isn't able to hang. Whereas someone like Higuain, who I think might have had a surplus of strength and ability, is now sort of coming into his own, because I think he's actually surprising a lot of the players who come up against him. Anyway, this is not an Higuain review. This is a 91 rated team of the knockout stage Dybala review. Everyone on Twitter was basically in saying that it was imperative that I at least try him out, and so I did. And boy, am I glad I did. He is something else. I've only used him for 8 games, so this isn't I think that's a pretty good amount of games to get a pretty good feel for a player, but. It was very clear that he was going to be a spectacular player very early on. Just his movement was the first thing that I noticed. His medium work rates sort of made him hold back a little bit, which was really nice, because Higuain with his work rates his movement would press really high up on the top, up on the defensive line. Dybala would sort of come short as like sort of the option, and what I would often do is I'd play a ball into Dybala, I'd do an LBA into Higuain, and then Dybala would spin off and make a run in behind, and I was able to get him through a lot. And what I've noticed is that he's not the strongest player. He's only got 80 strength, but once he got in behind, he was very difficult to get around if you press the LT button at the right time to sort of shield him off. He's very difficult. He sort of reminded me of some of the bigger, stronger strikers in that way. Which is really nice. But because
he's not actually that weak either, is he?
No, he's not. Yeah, I mean, 80 strength is pretty good, and then combine that with the fact that he's got 90 balance, 97 agility. He's going to be able to maneuver his body pretty quickly to shield off really anyone that's going to try and take the ball from him. He's not going to do well if they're trying to come out from him from the side. I noticed that the majority of defenders were able to sort of bully him off if they were shoulder to shoulder, but from behind, he's no problem holding him off. Where someone like some of the other smaller guys like Mertens and Neymar and some of those guys would get bullied off, whereas Dybala actually was able to hold him off. But the real...
What chem style have you used on
him? I'm using a Hawk on him.
That kind of makes sense, I think.
Yeah.
He's kind of one of those players that has good enough finishing. He's probably maxed out with Hawk, isn't he? And then only needs a bit more pace and a bit more strength, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the real sort of highlight of him is his shooting. His... anything cross the body shots across the goal are lethal, but then I also noticed that I've used team of the season Messi, who I think has sort of as the prize, if you will, of being the best finesse shot taker in the game, but I really do think Dybala gives him a run for his money. I don't generally take finesse shots, and I put in 3 or 4 finesse shots across the course of 8 games that usually I wouldn't even attempt, but since I knew he was pretty good at it, give it a go. So very good. I highly recommend him. Can't wait for his team of the season.
Great. Yeah, that's a very comprehensive review of a player who I would really like to try myself. I've literally been, since you mentioned him before we started speaking, I've been like trying to get him into a team. So such was your love for the man. But yeah, no, he looks great. So my pick is, as I was saying, a legend cam. He's actually not a cam. He's Dennis Bergkamp, so he's a centre forward. Really, really kind of solid player, but a lot of people make the mistake, I think, of playing him at striker, where he's not really got the balance or the agility to come into his own there. Yeah, he's not the quickest either, but obviously with Hunter that doesn't matter so much. But my big problem with certain players is when they don't have sort of top end pace, but they also don't have the best balance. If they have poor balance, not the best agility, and their strength isn't outstanding, then they can kind of be caught out, especially these days when you've got a lot of really good defenders and midfielders. So the reason why Bergkamp, I feel, really works well as a cam is that with Engine, he gets something like 97 balance, which is outrageous for a guy his size, and with decent strength at 77. And he's also, obviously, then with Engine, he's got decent, really good pace. His shooting is already really, really good, 92 finishing, I think it is.
Yeah.
And then he's got 82 long shots, which is the only stat that's sort of lowish, but I've scored plenty of long shots. It's definitely not a problem. He's got finesse shot trait. He does have really good finesses, perhaps not on the Messi, Dybala level, but he's definitely up there. And then he's got the ability to pick a pass without a problem. You know, he actually has really good long passing for a striker, as Bergkamp did in the day, has just excellent vision. And he's just an all-round top player, medium attacking, low defensive, so he's going to stay up the field as well. And for 400k, a player who can link your team together, you can't look beyond him. And he's got a positive, comfortably positive goals and assists per game ratio for me. So he's been really good, and that's behind two strikers as well, so it's got to be shared around a bit. That being said, I have to score lots of goals because I can't defend. So that is a necessity. But yeah, he's excellent, and he's really linked the team together well.
I've always had an awful time whenever I come up against him. I don't know what it is, but he is so difficult to tackle. And then what I also notice is he has that, I don't know if it's like some sort of trait, I don't know if it has to do with aggression. He's got 84 aggression, but whenever I tackle the ball, he seems to get it back and keep going.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I wonder if that is that combination of like the aggression, the balance, and the dribbling coming together. And he's got really good ability, kind of like, if you use you can use like RB or R1 to like flick the ball behind you, or like flick it across to somewhere you want it to go. And as obviously he's famous for that goal where he like flicks it around the defender. I think they deliberately made it so that he was very good at that, because he does do it so well. Like,
really,
he'll do little flick touches which you really don't expect. And I really like that. It's really kind of fun element to using him.
That's cool.
He's just one of those players that like makes you enjoy the game. Like, he does good stuff. He's fun to use. Like, he'll pull something out, you're just like, wow, Dennis, what are you doing? That is very nice.
At this point in the game,
he's that kind of guy.
At this point in the game, that's really what it's all about. Just sort of pulling out magic.
Precisely, that is entirely what it's about. So give him a go. And if you're not on Xbox, of course, our apologies, but we actually saw something. Well, you saw something about possibility he might be on PlayStation next year.
Let the rumor mill commence and strap on your tinfoil hat. But there's been a little bit of speculation about the fact that there might be some sort of deal with PS4 where there's going to be Legends next year. The first of which was the fact that I think maybe a week and a half ago, PlayStation held an event in Poland for FIFA. Usually what you see is Xbox and Microsoft branded logos and like graphics with FIFA stuff. But this event had PS4 graphics, and so it's sort of an interesting combination that you don't normally see. We haven't really seen in the past. I've heard rumors. There's always rumors about the actual termination of the contract, the exclusive contract between Microsoft and EA. Whether or not that actually ended, there's a source or two that said that it ended March 31st. But there is quite literally always a rumor that the contract has ended. So take that with a grain of salt. And then the final bit of evidence is that there was I think it was that there was Russian commentators talking about the legend Ronaldo, and they were doing it, and they were doing the actual commentating, and they were doing it on PS4. Well, they were talking about in reference to PS4 or something of the sort. So. So I guess there's a mounting body of evidence, if you will, albeit probably very sketchy evidence, probably grasping at straws, but it's a possibility.
I mean, the other point is that it seems like there's a lot more PlayStation players than Xbox players because I noticed, I don't know whether maybe it's bots or something, I don't think so, but you look at the number of live transfers, I've noticed a few people sort of mentioning that it's almost 3 times actually on PlayStation. So it does suggest they maybe have the buying power or the interest in their base of players to possibly fund that move. But then you could also argue maybe they don't need to. But yeah, something to think about at the end there. We hope you've enjoyed this week and look forward to having you again next week. Thank you very much for joining us, Jamey.
Thanks for having me, as always.
See you next week.
See ya.
If you haven't already, you can subscribe to the podcast through the Apple and Android apps or wherever you get your podcasts. Send your post to @FUTWeeklyPod on Twitter, or you can email futweekly@mail.com.